14 lawyers are being investigated for their apparent failure to properly manage a multi-million-rand settlement due to children who were left severely disabled by state negligence. The Legal Practice Council on Education is pursuing answers and action on the matter, but they are also running a drive to protect citizens from fraudulent legal practitioners. Let's bring in now Kabelo Letebele, who is the spokesperson for the Legal Practice Council. Kabelo, good evening to you and welcome to the program. So legally speaking, I mean, we'll get to just the insidious nature of the story itself in just a moment, but legally speaking, what went wrong?
Good afternoon, Iman and the viewers. The Legal Practice Council has been established by the Legal Practice Act of 2014, and our authority is really to be able to investigate cases or suspected cases of misconduct by legal practitioners. So with regards to the 14 cases you referred to, or any complaint that's brought to the attention of the Legal Practice Council, our duty is to look at the rules, the regulations, the code of conduct of the Legal Practice Act, investigate whether or not there has been a contravention of rules. If there is, to then take the necessary disciplinary action, which may include taking the legal practitioner through a disciplinary hearing, or in the worst case scenarios, applying to court for either a suspension or a strike off.
All right, so we'll talk about in this particular case what route you're likely to follow. But one of the big reasons that we're talking to you is not only that you're running the awareness campaign, which we'll talk about, but on this case itself, it kind of demonstrates very eloquently how badly things can go wrong in terms of not following the protocol. So our reading of the story is that these practitioners didn't set up a trust, which is where money should go if a claim of the sort, has been settled. Where did the money go, and is it still intact? In one story, we heard that out of a 15 million rand settlement, the complainant or the plaintiffs in the case only received around 50,000 rand.
Yes. So when there are cases like that, let's take cases of medical malpractice, for example. There will a lawyer would then have a client who sues the state. After the whole court process has played out, the court will then make a ruling. And part of the ruling would usually include how the monies that would be paid by, let's say, the Department of Health needs to be managed such that it reaches the claimant or the client of the lawyer. Now, what we've seen in the 14 cases, which, some of them are under investigation, by the way, but what we've seen is that legal practitioners, after being specifically instructed by the court to set up a trust fund, don't do so. And as a result, those monies that were rightfully due to their clients do not reach their clients. Now, that is a serious contravention of the rules. And this is why then we would be looking specifically into those cases, looking at the court orders that was made, the rulings, and the detail as to how those monies were needed to be managed to reach the clients. But Iman, what I also need is that we've seen in the 14 cases, that these cases were brought to the attention of the Legal Practice Council in 2022. Some of the rulings date back to 2018. Now, the issue of the delays, if the matter is not brought to the attention of the legal practice for investigation, it's very difficult for us to be able to step in and assist with the investigation and taking the necessary action against the legal practitioner where it's warranted.
Again, when you go back to the faces in some of these stories, the medical malpractice and the trauma that comes from it is one thing. There are families that are sitting with their children, their loved ones, that are forever broken in a way because of things that might have been avoidable, which is why they got those awards. Mounting medical bills to take care of that and to look after those children throughout the course of their lives, not having access to the settlements. that is a big sort of moral and practical impact that they are facing. And it's important for us to say that part of the reason for this conversation is to make sure that other people don't go through a similar kind of experience. So broadly speaking, you want people to be aware that there are ruthless legal practitioners out there. How can they identify them, and where should they go if they realize this has happened to them, they've been taken advantage of?
When a member of the public needs to employ the services of a legal practitioner, they need to check with the Legal Practice Council. They can check on our website to make sure that indeed that person is a legal practitioner. They also need to make sure that the person is in good standing and has what we call a Fidelity Fund certificate. Now, the Fidelity Fund certificate, or in short, the FFC, it's a certificate that we as the Legal Practice Council issue on an annual basis. We only issue it once we've checked the trust fund account of the legal practitioner to make sure that there is right governance processes that are being followed with the trust fund. And secondly, that there is an independent audit. But most importantly, those audits tell us that there has not been any misappropriation of funds or any abuse or any illegal keeping of funds that are due to clients. So that process happens on an annual basis. So when you, as a consumer of legal services, check that the legal practitioner has an FFC, you are securing yourself in an event that there is misconduct. But the other important aspect, Iman, is that when you make a complaint and we do find that there has been a contravention, we can then refer you to our insurers, which is the Legal Practitioners Fidelity Fund. Now, the first question that the LPFF will ask is, one, is that person a legal practitioner, and had that been confirmed? And secondly, whether there was a valid FFC in place. So whenever a member of the public makes use of a legal practitioner, it is absolutely imperative that they check that, one, that person appears on our database, and secondly, that there is a valid FFC.
A really informative interview. I wish we could have talked a little bit more about some of these, but the bottom line is that before you engage the services of a lawyer and want to understand what those conditions are, check with the Legal Practice Council about these rules and regulations, so that if something goes wrong, there is an insurance that's available that you can claim for. Kabelo Letebele, thank you for your time tonight. Kabelo speaks for the Limpopo Legal Practice Council.